And today does mark the 15th anniversary of the death of Senator Paul Wellstone, his wife Sheila, their daughter Marcia, and 4 others in a plane crash near Eveleth. Senator Al Franken says it was a devastating day for Minnesotans, and he's remembering his friend Paul today.
He was a champion of the little guy, and he is just sorely, sorely missed. You know, I hold the seat that he held, and I'm just honored to do that and carry his legacy forward.
Franken says that includes working on issues like mental health and the Violence Against Women's Act. Franken says it's very humbling to try to work in Wellstone's shadow and footsteps.
We must have the informed consent of the American people, who will be asked to bear the costs in blood and treasure of our decisions. When the lives of sons and daughters of average Americans could be risked and lost, their voices must be heard in the Congress before we make decisions about military action. Right now, despite a desire to support our president, I believe many Americans still have profound questions about the wisdom of relying too heavily on a preemptive, go-it-alone military approach. Acting now on our own might be a sign of our power. Acting sensibly and in a measured way, in concert with our allies, with bipartisan congressional support, would be a sign of our strength. There have been questions raised about the nature and urgency of Iraq's threat and our response to that threat. What is the best course of action that the United States could take to address this threat? What are the economic, political, and national security consequences of possible United States or Allied invasion of Iraq? There have been questions raised about the consequences of our actions abroad, including its effects on the continuing war on terrorism, our ongoing efforts to stabilize and rebuild Afghanistan, and efforts to calm the intensifying Middle East crisis, especially the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And there have been questions raised about the consequences of our actions here at home. Of greatest and of gravest concern, obviously, are the questions raised about the possible loss of life that could result from our actions. The United States could post tens of thousands of troops in Iraq, and in so doing, we risk countless lives of United States soldiers and innocent Iraqis. Authorizing the preemptive, go-it-alone use of force right now, which is what the resolution before us calls for, in the midst of continuing efforts to enlist the world community to back a tough new disarmament resolution on Iraq, could be a very costly mistake for our country. Madam Chair, I quite often in debates, at the end of debates on amendments, we thank our staff for the work that they've done and appreciate their hard work. I would, at the end of my statement today on the floor of the United States Senate, as to why I am opposed to the resolution that will be before us and that we will be debating today and in the days to come, which is too open-ended and would provide the President with authority for preemptive military action, including ground invasion in Iraq. I would like to thank my staff. I'd like to thank my staff for never trying one time to influence me to make any other decision than what I honestly and truthfully believe is right for the state I represent, Minnesota, and for my country, and for the world that my children and my grandchildren live in. And to all of my staff, I would like to thank you for believing in me. I yield the floor.